All right. You do it.
And we're alive. Not alive. We are alive. Very different situation. And we're back in beautiful, sunny Phoenix, Arizona.
It's getting better. Yeah. You know that.
Look, you can lie to them, Kai. You can lie to them.
No, seriously,
lie
the
to me.
temperature is way better now.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's definitely cooler. It's now closer to the 70s when it's super low, and then the days still, low 90s. But yeah, it's dry heat, so it's not as bad. It's still not desirable. Primarily all the fucking flies and mosquitoes. I want the cold to come and kill them all, deprive them of their lives. Wow, I guess sound like a psycho a little bit, but I do think that'd be nice because I'm tired of going outside, working on the car, and getting bit by mosquitoes. I'm over it.
Yeah.
As you all know, we were just recently in upstate New York. Bounced around there in the city, Boston, Vermont. And it's I'd say it's been quite a bit of culture shock coming back to a place that is pretty much just a direct representation of capitalism and franchise marketing.
I mean, it's more than the Thames, right? And the lack of opportunities for outdoor activities. There are so many things, but also recently it really came to us to realize that this place is depressing because it's so, an exemplar of capitalism. There's no culture here. Maybe you don't like what I'm saying, but it's true. At least in Santan Valley and other cities, maybe Phoenix too. I like Scottsdale, but those cities in Arizona really lack culture and is full of franchises.
Yeah. In this greater metropolitan area, for sure. It does seem that it's just been a lot of small cities that have grown due to enterprise and businesses moving in. And again, there's not anything inherently wrong with that, but it does. You do see a lack of like the mom and pop shop, the level of care and detail that typically is associated with mom and pop shops because it's coming from a place of passion. You go to a restaurant, you can taste the food quality. It's way better because they're going to a locally sourced farm, blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm sure it makes it a little more difficult being here. There's so many imports. Imagine we're not growing too much crop and things out here, so you can have restaurants like that. But there's seemingly nothing that is not just franchise or big business.
I think the problem with lack of those local businesses is that those franchises really do not represent people here, or of this place. It's a representation of that brand, particularly ordered in very specific ways to represent themselves, right? Whereas local businesses can have their individual characteristics in their businesses, therefore representing the culture of this place and people. I think that's why it's so goddamn depressing,
Yeah, and I mean, we're surrounded, and again, there's spots here and there. Actually, our favorite place to go is, a family-owned business. Alta, shout out to the climbing gym.
That's
two
the only
sisters
place,
opening
guess,
it up, and that's super cool. And that's like the place where we again feel the most at ease. It's kind of funny we're mentioning it because now it's not even so much about the climbing as much as the connections and the people there. They know us, we know them. It's nice to go in. They're genuinely curious about how you're doing. And I mean, you saw that firsthand again visiting Troy this past month. People are genuinely interested in your life and like want to chat and sit down and talk to you. And again, the walkability really truly lends itself to that. But yeah, for anybody out there living in a city that is suburbia, franchises, and blah blah blah, there's way better shit out there.
Yeah,
seriously,
for sure.
There is. Like, yeah, you gotta like break into the community, but those communities, I think on average, are pretty accepting of people that want to escape this type of scenario.
Yeah.
And would be very welcoming to it. And you can learn a lot in those communities and build some really good relationships. So, for I think the vast majority of Americans that live in cities like this, know that there's way better stuff out there in the U.S.
Yeah.
Don't have to leave the country. You just have to go somewhere else to find it. And again, going to somewhere that has like historical context is helpful because they've had communities for, several hundred years, potentially longer, depending where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So, East Coast got a lot of that. West Coast has some things as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fucking really highlighted how important community and friendships and all those seemingly small details really I keep saying lend itself, but really contribute to living a fulfilling life, I think. Because you also feel like you have a bit of a role.
Well, it's not a laughing matter, but it's kind of funny, though.
I wonder who's going to pay it back. I keep lending this shit out, The bank's going to come collecting, dude. We own that word, son, and we own you.
But yeah, quite depressing, but we are here temporarily, hopefully a month or so. I'm pretty sure we've said this before, but I mean, the plans have changed a lot, right? And then we traveled a lot, and finally we came back here to recoup, and I'm trying to get a job, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than considering at this point. But we have several candidates, even overseas.
Yeah.
So yeah, once that's sorted out, we're gonna get out of here, guys.
Hell yeah.
And then you're gonna see a more stable place that we record our podcasts. I mean, we still really carry that spirit, on the go, travel and moving, but we'll have better, hopefully, environment for our podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure there will be. If we end up in Europe, there will be times where we're doing a similar setup again. Just carrying all the stuff because, like you said, that's our spirit. We're on the move. We want to go. Nothing to stop us from what we're doing. So, again, that's kind of why we don't have a specific backdrop. The background looks different every time. And it's pretty minimalist. We just have the lighting, the hub, and some mics and a laptop. And that's really all we need to produce this material.
Yeah.
But if you guys are interested in seeing more or different settings, let us know because we'll try to set something up.
Yeah.
Maybe you want the backdrop of the ocean.
Something like that.
We'll drive to the ocean again and just record one episode there because we care about you and your guys' opinions.
Yeah.
So, shall we get into the topic at hand?
Yeah. What is it?
Pressure's on. You put the pressure on me. How about we talk about how it's almost been a year and what we're planning to do with the podcast? We can briefly go into it.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. So it's about a year. A little less than a year because this is 47th episode. Obviously 5 more episodes to be exact year.
But a year since when I picked you up in Austin this all came into creation.
Right. So I was in Austin. We lived in Austin a long time ago together. You moved to New York. I stayed in Austin with the same company, that horrendous company. And yeah, I fucking said it. I truly think that way. And then I quit my job last March. And that was sort of my first really long break, like meaningful break, because since when I was young, I always did part-time jobs in schools and all that. So I never had not being just unemployed, basically, So that was March, and then after 6 months, from that, I broke up with my ex, and you picked me up. You were in Colorado, having fun. Picked me up, came here in Phoenix, and we started podcast, right? This podcast.
Yep.
Initially, we had a specific theme for this podcast, which was philosophy and a little more serious tone, I guess, than other podcasts. Because of our love for philosophy. And I don't know. It's been pretty. It hasn't been really rewarding personally because we enjoy this. Don't get me wrong, we really enjoy this, but we haven't been really able to increase exposure of our discussion to the public. So we only have a few patrons at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and in that sense, I guess it's not going well. Our messages are not reaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think more
So
than
it's-
anything, it's not the amount of patrons we're referring to or anything like that. It's more so just wanting to share all our discussions openly with more people so that
Right.
we can have conversations with individuals,
Mhm.
in different groups of people. Because again, if we're just sitting here on the couch and it's just you and I, basically hitting back and forth, volleying the same conversations, topics, arguments, we're gonna get a bit in an echo chamber, or we're
Mhm.
just going to consistently reassure our beliefs based in what you and I both have shared beliefs, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely want to open up the discussion to be more inclusive of everybody. And it's not that we're not inclusive, but the means in which we're, I guess, sharing our content,
Mhm.
it hasn't allowed it to spread wider,
Yeah.
And also because we all reduce our content to the 20-minute videos, the short for the non-Patreon members, you're also only getting a limited glimpse into,
Yeah.
who we are and what we're
Sometimes
talking
never
about.
get to even the topic.
Yeah. A lot of times in the
Yeah.
20-minute videos, it's almost like the warm-up.
Yeah.
We're talking into the content,
Mhm.
and then the real meaningful guts of the conversation
Yeah.
are in the paid area.
Also because of the lack of script.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
That's why we don't get to the topic right away.
Yeah, this being completely organic and devoid of ads and all that jazz, So it does allow it to be more freeform more frequently. But that's why we're planning next week, I think,
Mhm.
right? We're going to do it next week.
Yeah.
We're
Starting next
going to
week.
release all the content to be free. Patreon members will still have tiers to
Mhm.
help contribute and support the show and rewards under there. But as far as free content, as far as the entirety and the length of the content, it'll be free to everybody,
Mhm.
including all previous episodes. So
Yeah.
maybe you're somebody that's been listening in the past and thought, oh, this is interesting. I would listen to more, but I don't
Mhm.
I don't have the money or the means or see the value in supporting
Yeah.
with $5, then you'll get access to the full
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So we would just love to give some feedback, leave some comments. We want to talk with you and exchange ideas, grow our knowledge and have the shared experience, because y'all are just as important in your words and opinions and thoughts as ours. And we want to wrestle with more concepts and,
Yeah.
pull some deeper ideas out of that
Yeah.
exchange.
Yeah, and then primarily, we've talked about this several times. Primarily, the reason that we are on Patreon is that so that we can be more independent. Not under the influence of other companies or whatever. That's why. So that way we don't have to place ads on our podcast and etc. But moving forward, it's going to be free, but still there will be perks for each tiers, right?
Yeah. The Patreon members will still have benefits. And we really appreciate everybody that's supporting and supported up to this point. But yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting, I think. I'm just stoked for people to have access to the full-length episodes.
Yeah.
And then,
so basically, more opportunity for people to listen to our discussions, and therefore more opportunity for them to engage with us, more ideas and concepts. So we really look forward to it. Yeah.
please look forward to it.
Yeah, and then again, like you said earlier, please leave comments and advice or questions, whatever. We'll try our best to answer those questions and read them.
Just not on the 90s. You get comments every day on the 90s
Yeah,
little
I know.
episode on your
The
personal
most
Instagram.
popular, at least in terms of reels on Instagram, most engaged one. Currently sitting at about 550 likes, and a lot of comments. Most of them are haters comments. Either I'm high or fucking on crack, something along those lines. That I'm not just well because I'm saying those stuff, right?
I didn't think it was controversial at all. That's the craziest part.
To their defense, from me. Yes, so the reel really shows about like 40 seconds of me saying that all those reasons that all those things that are good in the 90s compared to other decades, but there was more discussion before and after, right? Why I think that way, right? But you're just looking at the conclusion of my discussion without knowing why I'm making that argument or statement. So yeah, it's understandable, but at the same time, I don't really appreciate, or it's almost meaningless to say those things without why you think it is not right or why you think I'm on crack. There's no purpose of doing that.
Yeah, because you're not elaborating. You're just...
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to argue with you. I'm willing to give you reasons. I'm willing to answer if there's any question, but if it is just a statement that you don't agree, then I can't really engage with you.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're also willing to learn from the knowledge that they potentially have, right? But it's kind of like, well, if you make the claim, then at least make the defense, right? Show the math, show the work as to why you believe that. Because I think a lot of the times that's not really, we can't agree because we have different of belief. It's really we have difference on how we arrive to the belief. Yeah. Because honestly, if somebody did the work to arrive to their belief, I'm going to respect the belief, even if I don't agree with it at all. I can at least say, well, okay, that makes sense from their experience, everything they've done. Yeah, okay, they would arrive to that conclusion. But you find a lot of times when you challenge people when they make these type of judgment claims, like saying, oh, you're an idiot, that's wrong, blah, 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 and you challenge them, they don't actually know why they believe that. It's just the perception they've accepted as reality. Yeah. And that's difficult. That's difficult for anybody to combat because... There's that old adage that you can't use logic to reason somebody out of a position they didn't use logic to arrive at. So they didn't even arrive to that conclusion in a logical, step. And again, not everything can be logical, but you should be able to at least elaborate to avoid confusion, to avoid hurting people. There's so much benefit in just showing your work, personally as well, because you get a better understanding of yourself, why you believe things. Yeah. Like what tends to lend you to belief. Lending.
What was that? Well, but I think to me, like, that is a perfect glimpse of, what's happening today, why there is this serious division between peoples, because we're not communicating, you're just saying those mean stuff, but you're not really conversing. Right. Yeah. So that to me is just another indication that this is the problem. This is why we're having this division problems. This is why we're not understanding each other, because we're not exactly communicating. Other than stating those mean stuff, we're stating just self evident statements. It's almost like destructive in terms of relations and in terms of the integrity of society.
Yeah, no, totally. Also because a lot of people only get their bit of information and news and ideas from a lot of these social media platforms, and when they see it become completely reductionist, they think that's the way people talk, and that's the only way to talk. Or it's normalized to the point where they start using it as their language. And it's incredibly damaging and hurtful to the individual as well to society and by large. And I get it. Like, there's so much information out of there. You want to just easily depict, you usually want to just infer from a single picture, single clip, like everything. You want to just make a huge claim about everything based on such a little bit of information. But you're really doing yourself a disservice. Yeah. Like, you're not finding, like, root cause or any true understanding. And, maybe you've not done it enough so you actually have the tools to understand how you dig deep. But I think a lot of us hold on to ideas and beliefs that don't serve us at all, that it's hard to almost even call them beliefs because we haven't
Yeah.
done any work to believe them. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost faith, like you just magically believe in it or something,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, not necessarily that, what you're believing and your opinions are wrong, but in order to, there are a lot of benefits of conversing about your idea with someone else who doesn't specifically, particularly doesn't agree with you, right? Because that way you can reprocess your thoughts, you can challenge your ideas. Therefore, if you're right, you're reinforcing your ideas. If you're wrong, you have an opportunity to correct it,
Yeah, yeah.
growth. But if you don't do that, we've said this many times, you're basically a frog in the pond,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're isolated, and then there's no room for growth, there's no room for progression. That's depressing,
Yeah,
you
well, it
know?
should be.
Yeah.
And you may not realize how depressing it is until you're X amount of years, months, days down the road and
Mm-hmm.
realize, fuck, what have I been doing with my time?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're challenged by the exterior world. If all you choose to believe or engage in is with people that are like minded and have the
Mm-hmm.
same values, ideals, opinions,
Yeah.
yeah, of course you're never going to be challenged by those individuals.
Yeah.
And of course you want to call those people family and defend them because they reinforce your potential delusion or belief. It could be one or the other. It could be a mixture of both of those things. Not to say it's either or, but we all, in some ways, maintain these bubbles to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of the protection we're doing to ourselves may not really be protection.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be delusion to save our egos from having to, I don't know, change our view on reality.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all guilty of it. Like, we all have those things. We
Mm-hmm.
actively have those things in our lives today. Like, you and I think we consistently try to challenge them, especially on
Mm-hmm.
each other.
Yeah.
Oh, well, why do you believe that? What? Explain, elaborate, And when it's coming from a loving place of like wanting to understand, and then the other person wanting to challenge it as well,
Mm-hmm.
not because they think you're wrong,
Yeah.
but because they just want to give you information that may be beneficial in your point of view,
Mm-hmm.
or allow you to grow that point of view to serve you better in multiple scenarios.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's why you should listen and discuss with people that hold entirely different viewpoints than you, and try to understand why they hold those viewpoints,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where you really find relationship and understanding, is in like the nitty gritty as to how they arrive to it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, in my experience, I've been bummed to find out that most people don't believe anything in any meaningful way.
Right.
They just say they have a belief, but it doesn't actually affect any area of their life.
Yeah.
Why even say you believe it then?
Yeah. I think the phenomena is way more prominent today than before. We've talked about this before, but I think it has to do with, stems from, if we were to look at this problem from the beginning, it really has to do with, I think, the birth of internet, right? The birth of internet led to this enormous amount of information that we couldn't even imagine before. Now, the more information, the more possibility of some of the information being wrong, right? Because those information is created by, random individuals. It's not just before that. The information or books, knowledge that are published and written and published are usually by scholars, people who are experts basically in their field. But now, because of the internet and its nature, anybody can unload and share those information that they find worthy. But a lot of times those could be wrong. And the problem occurs when people isolate themselves with those information, that bad information or wrong information, or the information that is not strong enough.
Yeah.
Right? And you can basically stay in that state forever if you don't challenge it.
Yeah.
Right? And then another problem that is that really fuels this phenomenon is that lack of human interaction and lack of true essential identities of people. Therefore, people tend to really attach themselves or even shackle themselves to those whatever opinions and ideas they find really valuable. You know, in general, that is not a problem. But when those ideas are not really comprehensive or not the result of thorough investigation or experiential knowledge, then it could be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? But anyway, I guess where I'm getting at is that I think it's important to have this human-to-human interaction to even really get to the bottom of what you're discussing. Because language is not perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's written, unless it is a book of like 200 pages at least that can convey your idea more in a comprehensive way. Especially on the internet or social media, you're trying to converse with 2 sentences, 3 sentences, or 200 characters, whatever. It's really hard to communicate, in a more complete way.
Yeah, no, entirely.
But at least that's better than fucking saying a statement, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just noise at that point. It actually doesn't contribute to the conversation at all. It's just shouting or clapping or booing. That's all those comments are.
Yeah.
You've definitely, a lot of people have mistaken conversation for these other things.
Yeah.
That's not conversing. Conversing is an exchange of ideas. An exchange is dependent upon I receive and give.
Yeah.
If you're not receiving, you're not conversing.
Yeah.
If you're not giving, you're also not conversing. So, be careful not to accidentally mistake what you're doing in real life and social media is conversing.
Yeah.
If neither of those things are going on, then it's not conversing. It's something else entirely. And you're missing out on the benefits of conversation. Because you can't have true relationship without conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
I really don't think you can. Maybe you can in some roundabout way, but you're more than likely misunderstanding one another. You're making a lot of assumptions about each other's identities, thoughts, blah blah blah, and you're able to live within those assumptions.
Yeah.
And again, that's not necessarily wrong. You can probably have great relationships like that. Maybe you only do a certain activity together and it's a deep relationship in that singular activity. But again, life is made up of more than singular activities, made up of a whole bunch.
Yeah.
So conversing is like the one area where you can kind of entertain the way you would behave in multiple scenarios without having to go through those multiple scenarios, But again, that's why I would say, quality time as well as an essential component to understanding somebody and knowing somebody. You have to spend time with them. You have to converse with them. And then you're going to start build a better idea of who that individual is and who you are in relation to that individual.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, stop getting upset over Instagram shit. I mean, both sides. Like, who cares, man? It's such a small, probably unrepresentative factor in their life. And if you're going to be upset, at least elaborate as to why you're upset. Because maybe you're only upset because of something going on in your life. Maybe it has nothing to do with what you're commenting on. And it's funny because haters, for whatever reason, it doesn't bother us. Like, I feel bad for them. Whenever you see those comments, you feel bad for them.
It's not like I don't like them or anything.
Yourself.
Don't even really pay attention to those things. I mean, I try to read all the comments just because I don't get a lot of comments. It's just so easy for me to read all of them. But when I look at those haters' comments, I don't get mad. It's just that I wish this person really elaborated more, so that I can maybe engage with this person, Whether or not we can come to an agreement, that's fine. We may not come to an agreement, especially on the 90s one. I do understand that a preference or one's evaluation of a certain period in terms of culture and value, it can be subjective. I totally get it. But at the same time, there are objective reasons, objective phenomena that existed during those period. Then we can talk about that.
Yeah, then you can understand each other.
Yeah.
Because both statements about the 90s are true. It was a horrible time and it was a great time.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
based on
see,
what
like
events.
that also, like, right away causes a problem, right? When you say that, great, but then in terms of what, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so that we need to communicate properly, elaborate more, right?
exactly. Get on the specifics. Like, okay, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was great. Basketball,
Yeah.
music, these other, areas. But yeah, negative,
Mm-hmm.
like war. There's all these other things going on as well. They can exist simultaneously
Mm-hmm.
and be true statements. The
Yeah.
90s were great while also being awful. This is applicable to only specific areas. That's why you
Yeah.
have to elaborate. And that's why if you watch the video, you talk specifically about certain things.
Yeah.
And it's not because we're not talking about the other things where you don't know they exist or are not giving them their due diligence. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the case.
Yeah.
It just happened to be what we didn't want to. We just didn't want to focus on it that day.
Yeah.
And again, if we're people that don't know, and there's things we don't know, obviously, we want to learn. We fucking help us. Like, tell
Yeah.
us why it was bad. Give us some explanations.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let us still remain in the dark, wandering.
Right.
Like, do you really care about us if if you're willing to say, hey, you guys are starving and you have food and you're not willing to give us food? Like, you're the piece of shit, bro. Like, not us.
Yeah.
Like, we're out here hungry. And you're just going to let us starve. give us a helping hand or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think that is due to the isolation of individuals, right? Because they really lack, or they don't hold any, they haven't established any core values for themselves, so that they really hold on to this small worldview, that anything that is against their whole, this view, they get upset because they can't really understand their world just fall apart, basically. I think that's why people get upset.
Yeah.
Otherwise they don't have a justification for their worldviews.
Yeah.
So when you get really that kind of feeling, when you're reading something, or when you heard from someone that is not in agreement with your views, and you get angry, just think about why. Maybe it's a good time to think of why you get angry, why that is so threatening. The different views, which is very natural, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's an incredibly telling moment. It can also tell you what's important and what's not important based on how you feel and react. And you can make the choice if it's important or not important. But yeah, you get a rare opportunity to have your views and your ideas and understanding of the world challenged in particularly a meaningful way, where you can grow that belief, or you can challenge it further and get rid of it. Because there are a lot of things that, until they're put under the microscope, you don't really have an idea what they are. Something that looks good could actually be incredibly toxic, harmful, and poisonous to you, right?
Yeah.
Look at anything that's addictive. Yeah, it gives you a buzz. It gives you whatever in that moment, and it satisfies it, and continually calls to it. But you zoom out large enough, like over 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. Oh, is this harmful and detrimental to me?
Yeah.
Guys, like, a lot of things may serve you in the moment to feed your anger, or to feed your happiness or your sadness or whatever emotion you're experiencing. It might feel great to give into it in that moment, but what's that look like a week down the road, a month down the road, a year down the road? Are you going to be even more divisive? Are you even going to be further from a reality that serves you? Are you going to be further from your friends, or are you going to only have friends that share the same beliefs you do? There's a lot of things you need to evaluate, or not that you need to, but there's great value in the evaluation.
Yeah.
And you're met with this all the time. With everything you interact with in reality, you can be given this opportunity to reevaluate. And you should, because every moment is new. Nothing is actually the same or old. It just looks similar, because that's the way we fucking process things.
Right. And then another aspect that is important is to have to understand that more intimate personal relationship can lead to a better understanding of each other's values and ideas, right? So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that obviously I'm not saying that, if you want to talk to anybody about any ideas or topics, you should have personal relationship with that person. But I think it's important to understand the fact that the personal relationship or deeper understanding of each other can lead to a better discussion, the quality of discussion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, so that you won't get too upset or you won't get offended by someone because you don't understand that person, right?
Yeah.
Even when we talk about this metaphysical topics, we can have different views, man. Just because especially in terms of like metaphysical topics, we can have a lot of abstract ideas or even very personal ideas of faith, those things. So if you don't have any personal relationship with that person, then you can completely alienate that person, right?
Yeah, no,
Because you don't know
totally.
anything about that person,
Yeah,
right? And
and
then his ideas are just not, real to you, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah. And again, I mean, there's definitely beliefs that I hold that, just even a few weeks ago, were in a situation where
Yeah.
somebody raised the question about my beliefs or lack thereof,
Yeah.
and asked me for a objective analysis on a situation that, by all considerations, most people would say was a horrible thing.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, it's only horrible because it's happened to you, but because I have a relationship with you, it's horrible to me too.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
it's bad for you. But in a grand philosophical kind of like natural value of things, it's nothing. It's just something that happened, right?
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to arrive to an opinion on that matter, especially a matter that I'm so far removed from, without talking to the person who has the first-hand account of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to take their opinion and their situation, and it's going to be much more meaningful than mine, because mine comes from a place of no understanding. Mine's conceptual.
Yeah.
Yours is reality. Yours is experiential. So yeah, I value your experience way more than I value my concept. And my concept is nothing. The experience
Right.
is the concept and the action combined into, whatever you're going through. That's way more important to me.
Yeah.
But again, you have to have a relationship with people. And when we just become reductionists and want to say, well, this is the concept or the idea you hold, thus I'm not going to engage with you in a meaningful way or try to be understanding, then you're missing out on a lot, potentially.
Yeah.
You're missing out on a lot.
And, possibly destroying the opportunity to have real relationship with that person or understand that person. You know? Again, like if you really have a deep relationship with someone, disagreements become just another understanding of that person rather than a threat to your identity, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why the personal relationship is so important. It's all about you and me, together, rather than just different persons of different ideas, not compatible to each other.
Yeah.
Right? That's
yeah.
completely different things. And of course you can choose, but I think at least you should know that nature of building a relationship and its relation to quality of discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of concepts, ideas, beliefs, all these things that constitute what we would say is the identity of a person are merely expressions that can be either good or bad in the common terms of the expression of like the soul or the essence of a person, right? Like you can wear many different clothes, and like some you pull off better than others. Some like are more representative of you. Some for whatever reason speak better. The same with concepts and ideas. Like usually the first thing you choose in your closet to wear ever without any experience fucking looks horrible. It doesn't match you at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't know anything. You have to like build the experience, so eventually you know what wardrobe suits you and why you're wearing it.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh shit, that's fucking Kai. Like I know Kai. You know what I mean? Like oh, that fits your personality and characteristics so well. Same with these concepts, these ideas, and all these other things. Like you have to try on a lot of different ones to find the ones that actually are best representative for you. And again, because that's always shifting, sometimes you might only wear that for a season, and that bothers people. Really bothers people that, oh wait, what, you're a Christian for a month and then you like went to something else, or you hold this belief for a year and now you're something else. That really bothers people.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it does, because I don't believe it should. Again, I think these are just tools we use to express ourselves, and a lot of time they fucking suck. A lot of these tools suck, and they're not good enough, and they're too big of concepts, too large, too overarching, that if we adapt them, we give up 99% of ourselves, our essence, just to wear that clothing, right? Like Christianity, you give up a lot of it is to be you as an individual, to be Christian in this regard, or Democrat, Republican, whatever this thing is you want to put on, just to be accepted into society. So you feel like you can exchange and talk to each other with simple terms to understand one another. But it's so reductionist. It's so far from being human, it's probably not serving you. And just look at areas of your life. How do you feel on a day-to-day basis? Is your emotional thing like this fucking crazy all the time? Do you know where you want to go with your life? Do you have security? Do you have peace? All these other factors can be indicators to maybe you're wearing the wrong clothing conceptually. I don't know.
Right, again, but that's why it's so important to go out there and get some experiences, right? Because if you don't, then again, you're putting yourself into that loop of isolation, that's very dangerous, so you talked about this, you should try different things. Well, it's not because you must expose yourself to different things to find the truth to you, but it means that without doing that, the truth that you're having now may not be truthful. You need to continue to challenge it. That's why we say that truth is a moving target. At least we have that mindset. I mean, we have a core values for sure, but we never think of them as, oh, this is it, we don't have to do anything else. We continue to experience, we continue to explore the world, right? And some of the truths can change, may not. But I think that's the way to really understand this world as it is, rather than trying to interpret everything of this world in this universe through my narrow view that I established, years ago or fucking months ago. Yeah, that's ridiculous, right? What are you, Nietzsche or Kant? Genius? Even them continue to explore their ideas. That's why their ideas are different from their beginning of their career and the end of their career. Sometimes they are different.
Contradictory in nature and things like that. But we don't say these people weren't great thinkers because they had contradictory texts and thoughts.
Just saying the same shit on Instagram and TikTok over and over again for like a decade. What are you? I think again, it has to do with the lack of experience.
And that's the great thing about experience too, because when somebody challenges your belief, and then you can lay in and say, well, here's my experience. Like, dude, what are they gonna have to say against you? Here's some ideas to combat you. Like, bro, if I can go try the ideas in the field and tell me how they how they suit up, right? Like, it's like telling a guy who's never gone to war, or it's telling a guy who's rugged combat vet, like fucking Army Ranger, Navy SEAL type, who's seen a lot of combat, and you're sitting there telling him like, well, we have this new training, you've never been in the field, anything like that. You're just the guy who's been given the manual. He does something in the field, and you say, nope, the manual here, this is how you should do it. Like, bro, you fucking have nothing. You have nothing against the guy with experience. Right. Like, really, you're gonna the thing in the writing in the book, that's what you're basing your life. Rather than the guy who has practical application time after time again. Like, whose belief is more valuable? Whose belief is more useful to them? The guy with the book or the guy with the real life experience? And you can apply that to so many different fields. Not to say that the guy in the field shouldn't maybe look at what's in the book and say like, oh yeah, is that valuable? And he should be able to challenge it. But that guy's going to have way better chance challenging that in that book rather than this guy who's reading it for the first time with nothing to challenge it. He just has to accept it. Like, that's the way it is. Guess what? That's most of us in life.
Yeah.
First time we're in it, here's this book, here's the truths, here's what you need to believe. This is the way it is. You literally have nothing to even challenge it with.
Yeah.
So, of course, this thing that I'm telling you to do, that we're telling you to do, is impossible because you have nothing to compare it against.
Yeah.
That's the value and experience. You're potentially missing out on everything else in ways that you don't even understand. Like, you can't understand. You don't even have those concepts. They're just concepts of a concept, which is just crazy. So, yeah, you go get in the field, get your hands a little dirty, make some mistakes, fuck up a bit, and you'll get a better sense of who you are and what's valuable, what's meaningful, and what beliefs are worth holding. And then you'll laugh at the ones you used to hold. But you'll understand why you held them,
Yeah.
You'll understand it. And it's like, okay when you understand it. Because then you can at least navigate your life going forward, Apologize, make reparations, do all the right things.
Yeah. I think the importance of experience is that it's impactful either way. If it disproves your current value, then you grow. Right? If that's not the case, if your holding value is true, then you enforce them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's either way, it's very beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually going through this right now. So we just got back, obviously, from New York, and we've been eating, drinking, whole 9 yards for the last month, just not exercising really at all. Now we're going back to our old routine, the one we did before we went to Thailand, because we found it very effective. Even though when we came back from Thailand, we tried a different routine.
Yeah.
But now we're going back, right? We're saying, hey, is this thing still valuable? Is there still something to be gained here? And it's exciting. We're already, we're only on the second day workout, but the first day workout, like, wow, this is definitely, I can already tell this
very
is going to work. Yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting to revisit those truths. Because then you gain more info about what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Right.
And there's no shame in that.
More information about, especially the relationship between that training routine and our body status, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously our body status at the moment, going through the same program, are different from the body states back then, months ago. I was especially a beginner, like almost pure beginner at the time. And therefore I saw a lot of improvement through their program. And you saw the improvement too, but it was a different type of improvement. Right? The degree of improvement, I guess. But I am a little better climber now than before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of improvement I can get.
Yeah.
And then, during this time in between in Thailand and all the trips, we both lost... at least perceive the strength, right? We lost a lot. We feel like at least. So the rate of increase may be different from before, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing all those different outcomes so that we can better understand this program, right? Because we're in different states now.
Yeah. And think about that. Look, we're talking about a freaking workout program right now,
Yeah.
Like the level of application this thought process and rationale has can be applied to literally every avenue of your life.
Yeah.
And be useful. That's the cool thing. Once you start thinking in, similar regards about challenging yourself, you get so many options to grow and learn and really develop more of who you are or who you want to be, right? You feel more in control of it, And again, there's of course, an element of a lot of it is out of our control, but you're also accepting these conditions, and it's okay.
Right.
You're open to the results. You don't take it too personally. You just adjust. You're like, okay, there's a lot of uncontrollable factors that may have impacted this. I'm going to do my best to worry about the ones I can control, and be understanding to the ones I can't. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's what you get every time you approach a new experience. You become more comfortable with the uncontrollable things, right?
Yeah.
And you become more, not comfortable, but more confident with the things you can control, because you can control them. because you've controlled them in so many different other scenarios.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we go to a foreign place, we go anywhere to travel, like, I know we're going to be fine. We're going to work it out. We know how to get through that. We know how to deal with, like, not eating, blah, 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 being taxed, interacting with people, conversing. We know how to navigate the world more effectively. So there's less fear. There's less worry about the unknown. So you get to just operate in that confidence section. You know, and you just slowly but surely gain more ground of confidence. And that's invaluable. You know, it makes life way easier to navigate.
Yeah, for sure. And we're, soon going back to work, not to the same company. Before this journey, at least I thought that the job is the source of my unhappiness, and it is destroying my life. To a degree, yes, sure, but now I'm thinking about it in a completely different way. Yes, the job was not good, but the source of unhappiness or dissatisfaction about my life was completely somewhere else than the job. So I figured that out. I really reconciled with the fact. Now I have more confidence in the quality of my life, even though I may work, which is sort of against my core value, which is freedom, complete freedom. But other values that I hold can be still cheerful,
Yeah.
So that's why it is important to, I guess it's a little bit different from what we've been talking about, but that's why it's important to evaluate your values in life so that you can find out exactly the purpose of your life, why you're living, what satisfies you, essentially, why you want to live, like what do you want to achieve after, especially, through your life, right? All those questions, big questions, basically. Those answers to those big questions really don't come from staying on social media and watching Netflix, a lot of movies. I mean, the cultural impact can have, I totally get it, but it is only through experiences,
Yeah.
And that's why we believe the experience is the only thing through which you can achieve those big answers.
Absolutely. Nothing but agreement. I think on that note, should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Go get some fucking experience, man. It's going to be great, man. Let me tell you what, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.